Greetings all. Welcome to friends and strangers alike. Mercury here. Wanted to start with, first thing was to remember to mention that I had a nice long chat with Griswold Grimm a couple days ago, and he posted it on his channel yesterday, I think. But anyway, the link is in the description. So anyone who wants to check that out, that's there for you. What I've selected to start today's, to read for the beginning of today's live stream is a poem by Nolan Watson, our dear friend. And also there is a link to the spot where you can check out the poems Nolan has posted. I'm going to read Staring Out. Between the walnut slats and grills barring the window, wondering if he'll ever escape this prison and touch the sunlit tree. Dreaming warmth, shocked by the cold wave of wakefulness that crashes and shatters, bliss beyond reach. Huddled in the corner, peering out from the camouflage of knees to see 90 degrees of gloom. Soul surrounded by 270 more. Searching for hope in cave depths where creatures sleep upside down in darkness. The sunlit tree shines brighter. So thank you, Nolan, both for posting that and giving me permission to read your poetry on here. Beyond that, I did not have anything planned, and I don't think I necessarily need to stick around for a super long stream. I just wanted to check in briefly and see how everyone's doing. Anyone have anything they want to talk about? And until we see if any messages pile up, let's see. Okay, how about a little thought experiment? So I'm going to set up a scenario and think of it like an episode of The Twilight Zone, like science fiction, but where you don't worry about how realistic the science is. The science is just magical for the sake of the plot, so you can make some point later. Okay, so I'll set up the story this way. Aliens are aware that we have a climate change problem and come down and give to, one human being a box, with a button and little display and all this stuff, and explains that this box will make the sun disappear, and it will also generate a gravitational field that matches that of the sun. So we're not worried about any planets spinning off into space here when the sun disappears. But the box itself, say, teleports the sun into an alternate dimension so that we're looking at the light and warmth here. And it explains that you can turn the sun on and off at will so that you can regulate your planet temperature. And scientist decides it's got like a timer on it, so you can make it go on and off at will. And the scientist decides he wants to just for a while make short bursts of light and dark so that the world can cool down a bit. And he sets the timer for every 8 minutes and 20 seconds. So the sun disappears, it's gone for 8 minutes and 20 seconds, then it reappears. It's there for 8 minutes and 20 seconds, it disappears again. And now, here's the thought of the experiment, is think about that for a minute. And we're not worried about gravity or anything like that. We're just thinking about the way the sun would disappear. The light, the heat of it. And I think it's interesting psychologically to imagine how people would adjust to that. So imagine that the sun's gone. And here's where it's just do a real visualization of yourself on your front porch or somewhere very familiar to you, that you know what it looks like outside when it's night and day very easily. Visualize that the sun is gone. You're wanting to be outside the moment the sun reappears. And because it's timed, you can be there for that exact moment. And so you're standing outside for a minute where the sun is gone. And then imagine it reappearing. I think most people initially, when they're picturing themselves outside with the sun gone, are imagining that it's dark and that the moment the sun comes back, everything would get light. But I picked that time, and I wasn't precise with the time. That was an approximate. But I picked that time because that's the distance the sun is from the Earth. So the sun's like 8 minutes and 20 light seconds away, 8 light minutes. So the reality of it would be that while the sun was gone, we would see it. And the moment it appeared, it would disappear from our perspective. Because it takes the light 8 minutes and 20 seconds to reach the Earth. So when the sun first disappears, we won't see it disappear for another 8 minutes and 20 seconds. And the moment we see it get dark, with the timer set right, is the moment it changes back so that it's there again. So at the moment we notice the sun disappeared for the first time, it would already be back. And left like that, how would we think of it? Especially if that was going to go on for a few weeks. Would you say, I'm going to wait till the sun's gone to go outside so I can see what I'm doing? I'm going to go outside in a minute when the sun's gone and we have its light. But I think that's just interesting to notice how different what seems intuitively obvious can be from the reality around us. I don't know if that made sense to anyone else, but I think it would be very interesting because at first, like if that just started happening without it being explained, at first we would think of it as when the sun is in the sky that it's there. And then eventually some nerd would point out the whole time thing and we would all know it. But I just think it would be a strange phenomenon to experience because it really drives home how much reality isn't as obvious as you think it is. Okay, so Gloff, Longstone, and Daniel. Nice to see you all. I'm doing not bad. Past couple days I seem to have been coming more and more out of my depression. Still very low energy, and especially in the heat, and yeah, I'm still having some of it, but I'm much less depressed than I was for quite a while. How you guys doing today? Yeah, I suppose I'm also feeling very relaxed. I don't feel any need to chatter on. And the chat's pretty quiet. I'd intended from the beginning to do something short here. Yeah, really the reason I came on was I thought it'd be a good idea to promote the chat I did with Grizz on his channel. And yeah, so and if anyone's interested, we had a long talk. And I bet Grizz would really enjoy the support if some people checked out what he posted, our talk, and if he could gain a few subscribers off this. So that was part of the reason I thought to specifically come on, and I just remembered that I had said I would try to come on more often. But beyond that, I have not been feeling particularly chatty lately. I'm very happy to spend time just quietly. So Daniel asks, what was the topic with Grizz? We went all over the place. I don't even know. Well, and to a certain degree, we talked about the channel, like the channel and the community here to a certain degree. So definitely, I think anyone involved with the community will be interested in that. And then we went all over the place. Longstone spent a lot of time in the garden today. Excellent. Yeah, today was a little cooler. It's been ridiculously hot lately. Today was still hot, but I spent a good amount of time outside today as well, and at least it wasn't brutally extreme. And we had a party for my birthday yesterday over at my parents' farm. It's like just sort of my immediate family, brothers, sisters, wife, kids, niece, that kind of stuff. My actual birthday is tomorrow, which I'm going to spend just with, my wife and kids, here. But we had a little party over at the farm yesterday. So that was nice. And yeah, today just feeling very relaxed. Daniel was out walking a lot today, enjoying the sunny day. Fantastic. Yes, well, tomorrow I'm 41. Yeah, there's not very many people on, so I think lots of people are enjoying the weather today as well. Oh, well, I would be happy to talk about something for a little while if anyone had anything. Other than that, no, I'm content with the moment. And wish you all the best. So I'll take a moment of just relaxing here and see if anyone has anything they do want to say. If not, I'll jump off. But no rush. I'll just be patient and give everyone a minute or two. Okay, Daniel says, so what you were saying about reality earlier. Yeah, and if you think about it, you can go deeper and realize that everything we experience to a certain degree is in the past. Like the moon is, and I don't know all these numbers. I didn't look anything up before coming on to be sure, but I think the moon is just over 1 light second away. So in fact, if the moon were like beside us and it were in the sky when the light stopped reaching us from the sun, we would see the sun disappear first, and then the moon would still be lit up for 1 second, and then it would go dark because the light from 1 second ago would be bouncing towards us from the moon. But everything we see at a distance, like any distance at all, is in the past. And the further away you're looking, the further in the past it is. So also, if the moon blew up, you wouldn't see that for just over a second. The sun, it's about 8 minutes and 20 seconds. Obviously, the stars are years. But it's like that everywhere. Sound takes time to reach us, like you notice it with thunder and lightning, how suddenly the sound doesn't match up. And then even something that's immediately perceptible, it takes a moment, well, more than a moment, you're really slicing time finely, for the signals to reach the brain and for the brain to process it. So we're always experiencing the past. And part of that sensory data, the further removed from your body it is, the further in the past that information is. Longstone says, my birthday's right in the middle of his boys' birthdays. Youngest yesterday, oldest on Tuesday. Awesome. Well, say happy birthday to them for me. Yeah, I just find that interesting sometimes to think about the way the further we're looking or listening, the further into the past that is. It's interesting to imagine that extremely exaggerated as well. Like if the effect were just ridiculously magnified. So that, you know, what you see a mile away is actually like minutes ago. What you see further is even further back. Adela Darling says, hey, how come I can't see the chat? I have no idea. I saw you write that. So we're always experiencing everything we get. It's a little bit of the past. Like technically, even if your hand was suddenly cut off, you would perceive your hand being there technically for a moment longer. Like for a moment, you would be perceiving your hand to be there when it was already gone. Adela says, I see me. That's it. Well, I can see you. Daniel asks if I can sing in French. And then says, just joking. Well, I suppose technically I could. My French is horrible. And I'm not going to because I don't think it would be pleasant for anyone. But technically I could. I would just do it very badly. But how are you doing today, Adela? Anything you like to discuss? Angel says, hi, Merc. How's it going? Pretty good. And for anyone just joining who isn't going to watch later, one of the main reasons I just jumped on was to let everyone know that I had a talk with Griswold Grimm, like long, over 2 hours, and he posted it yesterday over on his channel, and I put the link in the description. Also, if anyone does check it out, I would appreciate it if they give them thumbs up or subscribe, because I know that would mean a lot to them, and Grizz has been doing a lot for this community. Melly says, hi, I came across this live and I wanted to thank you for the Jordan Peterson's videos. They are great help. Fantastic. I'm glad you enjoy those. Now, the older anything older than, I don't know how long me and Ryan have been doing it now. Anyway, we just took over the channel in February this year. So anything older than that, it was Andrew Jokum who did all of that. And then he took down all his personal content, wanted to retire, handed it over to me and Ryan. And we put up a bit since then. And we've done some response stuff to Jordan's work. But yeah, we're really glad that that's helping you. So what do you find most helpful about Peterson's stuff? What's impacted you the most? What do you... And Adela can now see the chat. Yeah, so obviously I am in a very relaxed mood. Also, before I came out to do this, I like meditated for an hour and was doing breathing techniques and stuff. So that's part of the reason I just keep going so quiet and clear at the moment. I've got my mind very nicely slowed down, and I realize that doesn't necessarily make for good viewing. Daniel says, I was watching the video yesterday about the guy who jumped on the stage when Jordan Peterson was teaching or was speaking. That was pretty interesting. Yeah, I found that moment really powerful. And I'm glad you enjoyed the video I did about it. But yeah, I thought it hit me really hard because I've been in extremely desperate situations. Like, never that I've done that, but I have been absolutely sort of in the crisis state that a person would need to be in to do that. So I could identify with it very easily. And I just went on live right away after seeing it because I thought, a lot of the people who are in that state, it builds up and it builds up and you feel stuck, and then it explodes somewhere and can often be received very badly. Like, at least they were going on a stage with a bunch of like intellectuals who mean well and people who can respond to that kind of thing. When shit bubbles up to that point and then you explode it onto someone who can't handle that level of crisis and extreme emotion, it can just make things so much worse. Like, people who can't handle that might then push you away or whatever. And so I wanted to do a video specifically reaching out to people who are in that state, or if not that state, like we're moving towards it, we're needing help and having nowhere to reach out to. Because the longer you feel lost and needing help with nowhere to go, the more it builds up and builds up and builds up, until, an interesting term I just heard the other day, until you do an emotional drive-by on somebody. And I wish I could think of the guy's name. Just the other day, I found some channel. There's a guy, I think he's bipolar. What's it called? Polar Warriors, maybe? But anyway, his whole channel is just about advice on dealing with being bipolar. And I didn't have a chance to check out very much of it. I intend to look into it a bit more and then do a video, maybe just like a bit of a review reaction to his channel in general, because I think, well, obviously me and him are extremely different in a lot of ways. It seems we also agree in a lot of ways, and it would be great for other people out there dealing with being neurodivergent or mad, that they have multiple places to go to seek for advice, because he seems to be a bit more grounded in real world than me. But one of the things he said in one of his videos that when you're bipolar, and I like also a lot of advice for people who are bipolar can apply in a much more subtle way to almost anybody. A lot of being bipolar is just everything turned way the fuck up. But anyway, I said one thing you have to be very careful to do is not to do emotional drive-bys on people. And that's where you just show up and suddenly dump all the worst shit you have inside you on them. And they're not necessarily ready to handle that. And even people who aren't bipolar sometimes do that. Like, I understand the phenomenon he's talking about with the emotional drive-by, that they just reach out to dump everything out on someone, a family member, friend, or something. And then once they've gotten it all out, they just want to go. And it's easy for them to stop thinking about it all after having talked to someone else. But then that person perhaps is full of that emotional energy, or has to like process everything you just said to them. And that's not always easy for people. You need to be very carefully aware of who can handle what. And that when you need help, same way that if you're drowning, you wouldn't want to be just grabbing on to just anybody on the shore or like at the edge of a small boat. If you're drowning, you need the help of somebody strong enough and who can swim well enough that they can help you. I don't know how the fuck I got onto all that. But anyway, I do think it's called bipolar or polar warriors or something like that. But I do intend to do a video on it someday talking about it a bit more. Adela says, "Oh, forget it. Just going to listen." So I guess she's having problems with the chat again. But what happened to Merck? Unless, do you mean what happened to Ryan? And you're just naming him instead of me. Ryan's just taking. I think he's taking about another week. He just took 2 weeks off from doing the channel because he's got a week-long intensive at school. He had a bunch of traveling, and he was just way too busy to even think about the channel. So he just took 2 weeks off. Me and him haven't. Yeah, I don't think we've talked since he stopped. Well, just briefly. But anyway, yeah, he will be back, though, in about a week or something. So D-Man says, "Yo, thanks for helping people out, USOP." You're welcome. It's funny. It's one of those things Peterson says, is it is actually surprising how little can mean so much to people. Like sometimes it's bad things. Yeah, it's like that emotional drive-by. Oh, right. I was saying that because why I put out the response to the cry for help. One thing is, from being bipolar, I can handle an emotional drive-by now in a way a lot of people can't. And if somebody out there is desperate and needs to unload some heavy fucking shit, I've learned to handle that. And that's kind of like the motivation behind putting out that video, and one of the things I've noticed I can do for people. But like Peterson's right, it's not even just the people who are really struggling sometimes who are desperate, to just have someone listen to them and be present and just react to them as a human being. Like, just have a conversation where you're entirely focused on and where you want the best for them. Also, just how much some people want to share whatever art they've been working on or something good that's happened. Just want to say what they've been thinking about and have somebody fully pay attention to it. Grizz is here. Hey, Grizz, I plugged our talk a whole bunch already, so I'll just do it again. Everyone go over and subscribe to Grizz's channel and give him lots of likes. Daniel says, "Lately I was thinking about honesty. We have to be honest with ourselves." Yeah, absolutely. Like, I can go on and on and on about honesty. Because anything you're not being honest with yourself about is just fucking up your ability to interact with the world properly or to interact with yourself. You can't fucking fix anything if you're lying about it, if you're in denial, if you're avoiding it. Like, stick your hand in a fire and try to lie to everyone about it not being hot. All of our dishonesty just creates obstacles and puts us out of alignment with the world. And yeah, Daniel, I think you said you were going to check out the video me and Grizz did together. But if you don't get through the whole thing, one thing we did do was listen to the Motorhead song "Don't Lie to Me" together. And yeah, if you've been thinking a lot about honesty and you want to hear a cool song about it, check out Motorhead, "Don't Lie to Me." He makes actually a lot of excellent points about the importance of truth. Melly says, he pretty much clarified everything. For example, he's basically playing the role of a guide for what life might put us in and how to deal with it. Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious. Feel free not to answer anything you don't want to. I'm just curious how old you are. Just sort of like, yeah, are you a young person looking at it, like just beginning to set out in life, or are you like me, somebody older that's already had to wander around quite a bit? And I didn't discover Peterson obviously until a couple of years ago. So for me, I wonder how I would have received him at a younger age, like at college age. I didn't take school very seriously. I could do well without trying very hard. I don't know how I would have responded to Peterson if he tried to teach me any of those lessons before I learned them myself. I think the younger me might have been like, yeah, may not have been so impressed with Peterson. But a lot of the life advice he gives, I can say from being a little bit older than college level people, that yeah, I learned a lot of it the hard way. D-Man says, yes, it's incredible what a little push can do for someone that's really down. Yeah, absolutely. And another thing for like people who try to help other people, like trying to reach out to somebody in depression, it's okay. Like, because when I talk to people who are really struggling, there are times it absolutely like pulls me down and like I cry while talking to them, and where I really take on whatever emotion they're feeling. Because I'm either delusional about this or I pick up people's emotions or have some psychic phenomenon. If not, I have like the phenomenological experience of it since being bipolar. So sometimes I will feel people's emotions and really take it on. And so sometimes, not even talking to someone directly, I can cry reading a book even about something fictional, or I could cry watching that clip of the guy. So sometimes I do get pulled into it, but also there's other times where I can, it can like sort of flow through me without me really getting caught up in it. So it's like the difference between putting your hand in a fire where it burns and being right beside it, where you can feel its heat, you can connect to it, but you can manage it. So, and I think I've gotten better with this channel, especially at doing that, talking to somebody in a crisis mode and maintaining that I'm okay while recognizing and still connecting with and sort of feeling it, but in a way where I'm not absorbing it anymore. I don't know how to explain that. But anyway, for people who don't have that level where you pick it up automatically, like if you want to help someone who's depressed and you're actually in a good mood or you're centered or you're zen or things are going really great for you, you don't have to pretend that you're not doing well. You don't have to lower yourself to their level of emotion, I find, to help whatsoever. You just need to pay attention, recognize what they're going through. and you don't, like, there's no need to argue. One person is, yeah, because sometimes we feel like we have to match up or we have to argue or push the other person. I've got to either lower my mood or I have to push them into a better mood. So that right away you're just saying, hey, cheer up, and you're trying to push them somewhere else to make it acceptable for each person to be in a different world. Where one person is in a world that is set on the depression filter. It's almost like a different dimension. Or like if we all change our settings on our computers. For one person, all of this can be black and white. For another person, it can be muted. But it's okay for one person to be in the depressed, cold dimension, and for one person to be in the positive dimension, and to meet each other on the common ground of reality. To pay attention to what that person's experiencing, to like accept it and validate it, to want the best for them and to love them. And then you can have times like, and obviously if somebody's really struggling, you don't start by listing good shit going with you. But if you sit down and talk to somebody really depressed for a long time and you listen to where they are first and you acknowledge it, and also for a lot of depressed people, they don't have anyone who will just let them be depressed. To cheer up or act like you're cheered up or whatever. Hang out with them, find out how they're doing. And then as you're just making conversation, I find sometimes people feel better about being depressed if someone else just gives them permission. Like, that's fine, be depressed, tell me how it is. And then you can share good things in your life and you'll find, no, it won't cheer the other person up, but it also won't necessarily bring them down in any way either. And that you can, depressed people often want connection. And that's surprisingly simply it often. That they just want to share with someone else how they're doing. And then it's okay to share how you're doing. And it's okay if how you're doing is good. And Daniel says, yes, his teachings are pretty useful when he's talking about aiming, what we aim. Yeah, absolutely. All Peterson stuff about that is fantastic. I'm feeling pretty tired of talking already, and I don't think every stream needs to be real long. HG Tutor says, where am I? I'm in Quebec, sitting outside. Yeah, I don't think these all need to be super long things. So thank you all for joining me today. I hope everyone has a fantastic night or afternoon or morning or whatever it is when you're watching this. Yeah, and if anyone is struggling, all that talk about talking to people when they're struggling, in the description underneath is the email for the channel, sortingmyselfout0@gmail.com. Yeah, if anyone is struggling, wants to talk to me and Ryan, or if anyone wants to do a podcast in the future, Ryan will be back in not too long, in about a week, and then we'll start doing more podcasts with experts and people online and stuff like that. So Grizz says, yeah, you're welcome, Grizz. Daniel, everybody, have a great day, night, whatever, and Lunatic love to all.